Hello, everyone. So, welcome to March Pisces season. So, of course, it's my season. Happy birthday to all of my Pisces nation out there. And of course, later on for the Aries people. So, this is going to be a reading for March, and I'm going to go through the energy. I have already looked through the energy as for a preview. And so I decided that because of the intensity of the energy from the astrology standpoint, I'm going to give a highlighted view of the energy with the understanding that there's several things at play. There's a lot of death energy at play. And again, death is in the physical, the spiritual, the material. So that's financially. There's a lot of endings happening in this month of March. So I know that is a lot for many of you to handle. You can't digest that. So if you're looking for the, hey, let's feel good energy, move on to somebody else. If you're looking for the reality of the energies that are taking place so that you can plan your life accordingly, keep watching. Okay. So a little bit outside of what I've been doing lately, I'm going to change things up because I know some of you guys want to know about the energy. So I took a few notes from the energy from now until the eclipse. And I have to make sure I give a little statement in the beginning. Remember that I use Vedic astrology, tenets of Western astrology, and numerology in my shamanic insight. So that is part of the Fryson method, astronumerology. So some of the timings are different from Western astrology. That is important, especially for those of you who are doing ritual work. I know I've seen a lot of things about people doing ritual work on March 3rd at 3:33 in the morning, and they're doing it because of the 333 portal. But I also know that some people are looking to do ritual work for the lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse time, the timing of it is not at 333. So I'll get into that later so you can understand if you are indeed doing ritual work at that time. Okay, so March itself, again, the third month in a 1 year makes it a four energy for the month. Four is the building, right? Four is the person who sets foundations in place, puts things together, hopefully. And you have to look at the one energy and the three energy come together to make that four. But another piece of this March is that the March inherently is a Pisces energy and it is a seven energy. I spoke about it in one of my other videos that the March energy is also ruled by Gemini, not necessarily Gemini, but Mercury in general. So there's a communication energy. And the three we know is associated with communication, with fun, with joy, with freedoms. And then it is also associated with partnerships, with communicating with others, with siblings, and things that can bring you some fun, some finances, some funds, some money, right? But of course, in the Fryson method, the three is the first arm of death. So it's the first arm of loss of finances. And that loss of finances occurs by multiple avenues. And as we're going to look later, we're going to see that it is because of war in this particular case. So you can expect the loss of finances. Some people will have job interruptions because of the other things that are taking place. At the same time, whenever there's one group that's having a job interruption, there's another group that actually sees things go up. And I'm going to talk to you about the careers that would be impacted a little bit shortly. Okay. So if you find yourself as one of the ones who has to change careers, stay tuned. Okay. So another thing is there's also a Scorpio energy here. There's a Leo energy and a Scorpio energy. Both of those are aggressive energies. Both of those are war energies, combative energies, passionate energies. Leo is the commander in chief, right? Leo is the as well, not really. Leo is, let's put it in terms that you can understand. Leo would be the king. The Scorpio would be the warrior, the general, the person who's going out doing their bidding for the king. And so that energy is here. The thing of it being in Pisces, when this is all happening right now, the first few weeks are still Pisces energy. That is happening, stating that this is over some secrets. And what are the secrets? I have the answer for that as well. So I'm going to tell you this. So we got a loss, a transition, war, things that bring you pleasure are changing. There's a focus on occult practices, and you're going to hear more communication about occult practices. So things that were considered taboo, as we've recently learned in the United States, of course, those in government were doing those things. You're going to hear more of that. You're going to hear more of sightings of UFOs and things of that nature, and people having extra gifts to where they're, manipulating the moon, not the moon, the trees, the things of that nature. No, they're not manipulating the moon, but you're going to hear more of that type of information come out in this month. Okay. Another thing here, 4 is another death cycle, and 4 is the death cycle related to the home. Now, remember, death means sometimes moving. So you're leaving your old home, going to a new home, but it could literally mean the destruction of homes and area. And this is the timing that I'm reading is for, it's the Eastern time zone in New York based. So this could definitely mean someone away from that time zone to the left, if you're looking at it on a map. So that place or that energy is moving. So some people may be leaving home for a career. They may be leaving home because of war, and they may be leaving home for temporary or for permanent, but they're leaving home. Home changes, money fluctuations occur, and of course, life loss occurs. Thing I wanted to say, I wrote some things and read that I got to make sure I tell you guys. This is a very intellectual month, and the focus is on diplomacy. There are a lot of cerebral games at play. And although we have the physical happening, it is a very strategic plan. I'm going to do these physical things in order to achieve this thing that I think is a prize mentally. Diplomacy is where we're having the fallout, the breakdown. Of course, the Scorpio energy, the Leo energy, and then we got Mercury retrograde, and we also have Jupiter retrograde going on at the same time. A lot of people talk about the Mercury retrograde, they don't talk about the Jupiter retrograde, okay, which is expensive energy normally overseas, right? And also intellectual energy, and sometimes is the secrets being revealed, and also the expanding overseas has to do a step back sort of thing. You try, but you don't necessarily make it. And actually, that's what this war that is happening. Unfortunately, the war that's taking place overseas is going to come to the United States, to the actual soil of the United States, which a lot of people aren't prepared for. Remember, my readings, my information is to prepare you. Okay, this isn't that you're going to get a boyfriend kind of thing. That's not what I do. All right. Now, next thing is Pisces is the feminine energy. So we're starting out the month in feminine energy, the desire to have feminine energy, the desire to have peace, the desire to have some conversation, some communication, some intelligence. That is surrounded by the Scorpio, which is a feminine energy, but it is the feminine energy of wanting to argue, wanting to, be like aggressive. And then the Leo, the masculine energy of Leo. So this means that the Pisces feminine energy may not win. Okay. There's a lot more of the aggressive energy at play. So that's why you have conflict. Next thing, we move later in the month, the masculine energy of Aries shows up when we switch over to the Aries season. So then you're going to have two masculines and aggressive. Okay, you got Aries and Scorpio, both ruled by Mars. So you have Mars energy, and the sun energy. So you have the king and everybody else doing what the king says, right? So that energy is the month of March. Now, for those of you who are aware of this lets you know to move with caution, to move carefully, to limit your travel, in certain places. If you don't have to go, don't go, right? And then if you do have to go, prepare yourself as far as making sure you have some sort of protection when you're going to these different places. This is a time of building a business. So for some of you, because I have people who are not going to be as directly impacted by the events, meaning in your day-to-day life, you're not going to lose your source of income. Some of you, this is going to be a good time for your business. And some of you who have occult businesses, this is actually going to be a good time for you because when other people who are seeing what's happening and they've done all of these things, the prayers that didn't work and all of that, they're going to turn to some of the occult resources and see if that works, right? So some of you, your business will actually grow during this season. And the reality is you have to be very disciplined. That's where you're going to have some problem with starting and stopping businesses. It's not going to be there. I would challenge you to do a 30-day. I'm just going to do something for my business every day to try to grow it, to try to get the word out so that people can know what you're doing. Oh my God, I just saw some people get pew pew. Um, hmm, that's an attack. That's a that's an assassination attack of someone being pew pew. So that's gonna happen. Might be happening right now, March 1st. Okay. There's some people who are being dogmatic and overly strict, and they are restricting business, they are restricting resources, and they are, of course, having cruel tendencies, right? There is a focus on some specific areas when it comes to written communication, and that's going to be the military, real estate, and properties. There's athletes, doctors, and then there's going to be more attacks, more military attacks. And then there's going to be a focus on external resources, someone wanting to obtain the external resources. And in the case, I've already looked up what the resources are, and it's gold and oil. Those are the resources that they are targeting in the attacks. There's the health focus is going to be on the kidneys, the bladder, the teeth, liver, insomnia, and panic attacks. There's going to be another focus on diabetes and social anxieties. So that's where people are going to have health issues. Of course, meditation, lots of tools out there, herbalism, lots of things to help you with some of these different issues that will come up. Um, the best color for the month is green, right? So if you want to get any of your green crystals or wear green to help you attract wealth, that is going to be good. So before I do the rest of this, let me give you the lesson card. Let's start with the lesson card. There's a lot of energy out there, and I have already shuffled the cards just so you guys know. I'm going to shuffle it one more time before I pull a lesson for the month of March for everyone who finds this video. Let's see. So that says friendship. I understand that a friend is in my life for a reason. So definitely a time to make friends, leverage your friendship, have some communication with your friends. If you have a business, perhaps your friend can assist you with the business. Maybe they can help the business grow. Uh, you know, when it comes to war, allies, it's going to be extremely important. I can tell you guys the United States does not have enough allies. We are going to officially lose this particular war. Okay. And let me look at some of the astrology. I wrote some things down for you guys because it's very important. I know not everybody's, but most people who are looking at astrology are focused on the lunar eclipse that we have. That's coming on March 3rd. Again, timing is everything. Remember, the there's a difference in the Vedic astrology and the Western astrology and the timing of when things happen. And then there's a factor that takes place when it comes to astronomy. So let's start with today, March 1st. March 1st is a heated day. This is a day of war energy, of fighting energy. We start out with Mars, Mercury, North Node, Venus, and Sun in Aquarius. Technology, Saturn energy, hard work. We look at Mars, Mercury, and Rahu, which is the North Node, Venus, and the Sun, and we have to evaluate that partnership and what type of energy is coming. With that energy, everything there minus Venus is um, um, negative, a malefic type energy. So it leads towards things that are not beneficial. Venus is the one that normally is the planet of love and light. But unfortunately, when Venus is with these other energies, meaning things that look good, there's people who are going to derive pleasure from this chaotic energy that's there, right? So we have the sun, which is the king, and we have Mars, which is the commander. We have Mercury, which is the sun, and we have Rahu, which is the hidden relationships that will form to have a some sort of enemy taken down. But Rahu, the North Node, is like this. I don't want this to be overly political, but in relationships, a partnership has been formed between two countries. One country, which represents the sun, is using the other country, right? And when this is all over, they'll turn on that country. In addition to that, the sun energy is also bringing these other forces of violence, right? And then there an escapism that's taking place. That's starting out in Aquarius, being different, not caring that other people don't like how you're doing things. That energy is there. And it also about technology. So the technology that is being utilized to perpetrate these different situations, the wars and aggressions, is new. That being the case, if you are in the communication space, the technology space, the war space, you will prosper as a result of this. Of course, if you are a military selling weapons, you will prosper. At this time, you will make more money and other people will lose money. Remember, I mentioned properties before. There will be a loss of properties because people will lose their income and will not be able to afford the properties, and you have more foreclosures and things of that nature. There's also a loss of properties internationally because Jupiter is in retrograde season, and we also have people who are going overseas with the attempt to take over those properties. They will be successful in the short term at possessing those properties. Okay, short term. The other energy that is there is Saturn is in Pisces, which is good, right? Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. So that means that people who are working hard in a space, in this case, it starts out in the Gemini energy in March, communicating well. Those people will see some success in their business. This also brings up old rules, right? Old ways of doing things, a very conservative stance and approach towards things. And that could be bad, but it also means there's a secret hidden agenda. So just because these conservative views are out there, it doesn't mean that internally the person is in alignment with that energy. What does that mean for you, for the everyday person who's walking around looking to astrology or something for guidance? It means that in your everyday life, you need to, one, evaluate your principles. Two, you need to do some work towards whatever it is that's calling you to work. So if you're being called to move towards a new career, a new home, a new relationship, you actually need to put in some work. You need some discipline. You are being called to actually make a plan and follow through on it. which is contrary to the Pisces energy because Pisces can be dreamy. I'm a Pisces. I get it. I understand dreaminess. You're always thinking of ideas, but some of those ideas have to come from the thoughts down to earth. You have to be grounded. Okay. I would recommend that you do some grounding exercises during this season in order to get you back in alignment and be able to put some action out there regarding these plans, these ideas. Another thing that is there is K2, which is the South Node, is in Leo. Starts out in the ninth house. Not good. Remember, I told you there's some Leo energy. Leo is aggressive. K2 is very intuitive. K2 knows where to direct the aggression, which means some secret plots will initially be successful, and the plots will take place because someone has been given information that most people think they don't have, and therefore they can have a sneak attack victory. Again, this falls in Sagittarius, which means it's going to impact schools, universities, places of higher learning. So you can expect to see like a bomb or something to that effect. I know we already had in February, saw that energy on the 28th, but we can expect to see that energy for 3 more days, right? 28th, the 1st, the 2nd. So you can expect to see more institutions such as that being impacted by the different things that are taking place. When we look at the energy, the Mercury being in retrograde, we know that makes us revisit things from the past and make us go back and say, do I have a chance to get that right? Or am I going to repeat the same lesson? Jupiter in retrograde makes us go back because Jupiter is that expansion, that nice energy, and it always wants to do what's best for others. But sometimes people go back and say, I had a plan and I thought this was the way to go and I veered from it. So now I'm going to go back and go that way, thinking that it's the right way to go, right? But it might not be. So that means maybe you decided that you're going to grow your business and you're going to grow and launch your business March 1st. But perhaps you're supposed to wait because now is not the best time for you to expand. If you expand right now, you're going to run into more issues. Maybe there's an issue with getting your supplies. Maybe there's an issues with people coming to wherever your place of business is because of the fact that all these other things are going, right? So it's a cautionary tale for you. Now, the other thing I have here is, of course, vehicles. I see vehicles as pipe bombs, bombs under vehicles, or vehicles used as a bomb or used as a tool to fight and cause chaos. That's March 1st. Is there anything good in March? Yes. The moon is in Cancer, which is its own in eighth, which means it's going to illuminate some things. It's going to bring, and the eighth house is the occult. The eighth house is also another one of those death house, means poison. It's going to show where people have been plotting some things, right? So secrets will be revealed about certain situations, which can be beneficial, depends on which side you're on. In your personal life, you may also find secrets being revealed. And you're like, oh, wait, somebody was sick. Now you find out someone has something that you didn't know that they have. You can't do anything about something if you don't know that it exists. So finding out the information is good. This might call for you to actually do some research about whatever that situation is and learn more, learn what you can in order to find out a way to overcome it. So then we're going to go to March 2nd. And I want you guys to know that March 2nd in the evening is really when the eclipse energy starts. I know everybody's going for March 3rd at 3:33, 3:33 in the morning or 3:33 in the afternoon. It really starts March 2nd. And then because the eclipse, meaning they get really close, the sun and the moon in that alignment for eclipse, the total eclipse, I know everything is saying 6:33. My calculation is at 6:37:23 seconds. okay, for the total lunar eclipse. And that would be on March 3rd, right? But before then, you actually have the moon and the sun lining up in an ecliptic kind of manner, not a total, but very close. I mean, we're down to minutes. So it's very close that they're lining up there for a 12 to 13-hour window, basically, about that. Maybe not 12, but somewhere close on that. So that ecliptic energy is where things get a little hazy, a little confused, and we have some energies that shift. We have the Mars. Remember, I said we start out with the Mars, Mercury, Rahu, Venus, and Sun. Then on March 2nd, the Venus energy moves to Saturn in Pisces, of course. Saturn is more of the person who likes Venus. Everybody's attracted to Venus, but this highlights whatever house that is in Pisces. So this highlights beauty. This highlights someone in the beauty industry, someone in the entertainment energy who's beautiful, sunsetting, right? Meaning their time on this earth is over. They're transitioned to the next level. But this also brings about communication about the thing that everybody's been looking at, those files, because the Saturn is a much older energy than Venus. Venus is a young feminine adult. Saturn is an old man who's at the twilight of light, almost over. And so you may see communication, more communication, as if we don't have enough about those files that we all know exist, right? So that kind of energy is there. In your life, Saturn, of course, is a builder of systems, of processes, of discipline, a worker. And Venus, yes, it's beauty and entertainment and joy and happiness. Sometimes it doesn't have systems, but if you put it together and the Venus is receptive, then you may be able to create something that lasts, something that you can be proud of, that's something that brings you joy in your life. That could be your body. You could be exercising, or you can have a diet change, or even a hair color change. That could be at your home. You could beautify your home in some way, your job, your career. You can create something beautiful that lasts. This can also be about real estate, buying properties for generational wealth. Okay. So take it how it resonates for you. I expect more international news on that day, more information about educational institutions, and the revealing of new enemies. Now, of course, more death. There's going to be death, major death, every week, almost every day for this month of March. Okay, so let's just accept that. Physical death. There's going to be spiritual death. There's going to be materialistic death. See all these transitions. There's going to be death in the health, people losing the ability to do something. All of those transitions are taking place in this month of March. Okay, so let's just accept that. You have to pivot from that and learn how to move beyond that stage. Okay. Now, with the eclipse, for those of you who are doing ritual work, yes, is it a good time for you to go outside and collect water? If you are into chaos magic, of course, is it a time for you to do rituals for against your enemies because you want to do chaos against your enemies? Of course, if you do chaos magic. For everyone else, know that, for instance, in healthcare, it would be a chaos, right? So that's what we always would be like, oh my God, the moon, and this is so we have the full moon and we have the eclipse and we have chaos, right? So chaotic energy happens for some people in their practice, they want that, right? So no judgment on anyone. It just depends on who you are and what you do. Now, in addition to that, we have the moon giving us a particular energy for the entire month of March, in addition to that full moon and that eclipse. So let's look at what that is going to be. Okay. So this says you are good enough. Full moon in Virgo, which is lovely because Virgo is the opposite, the south node to Pisces, right? And you have to know that no matter what you're going through, and the Virgo, the woman on there is a beautiful person, right? So she has to understand that she's beautiful enough, she is enough for whatever role she is fitting into, relationship, job, family, whatever role, you are enough. That can be your mantra for this month. I am enough. If you saw my video about what I'm doing for myself, I am giving myself the gift of movement because March is the me energy, and I'm going to take care of myself because I deserve it. Okay. So now that we've gotten that part out of the way, let's look at a little bit more energy that's taking place that you guys need to be aware of. Let you move over. Well, that one's not going to help me with that. Okay, so let's look at this is the third. On the third, this is not the most ideal day for you to build anything or add anything because there's a lot of explosive energy that day. So there could be some confrontation with contractors or with people about the direction that you're taking in the home. So just table whatever that project is if you can table the project. There's also going to be some communication regarding children, particularly if you are a teacher or something like that regarding your school. There could be some closures that take place on the third of the schools, and some of it could be temporary, but definitely some closures happening. As we move on later in the day of the third, remember we have that eclipse energy happening. That eclipse energy is also going to impact the financial industry. Later on that day, you can expect to hear news about some collapses in some infrastructures. So, some people sunsetting in essence because of the different things that have happened within the last 24 months. Um, we also must understand that that Saturn energy that I mentioned with Venus, it is impacting that Sun, Mars, Rahu, and Mercury energy that is in Aquarius. Now, the good part of this, the only good part of this is that there's going to be illumination of that. It's going to be on display. So people will not be able to hide from what they're doing. And therefore, there can be accountability eventually for what is taking place. Okay, so on the 4th, after the total eclipse has taken, it's gone, we're done with it. Uh, the 4th in the morning. Then we're going to look at the impact that the sun and that energy is having in the international space. But there's going to be a return to a focus on the death house, the loss of life on the 4th. And that's going to continue. At first, it's going to seem like a victory because what was considered an auspicious day. So somebody's going to claim the victory over their actions. They're going to be like, yay, we did it. Again, that's going to come back later and show up as not really victorious. There's some health challenges that come up. and food industry. So it's a month of communication. So perhaps there's an outbreak related to food or information about the food, um, something that is poisoning or not necessarily poisoning or recall or something like that. Or maybe they're also discovering something that is not as good for you as it once was thought to be good for you. But that news will come out um, on the 4th. And oh, it's actually an exercise supplement, like a something that helps runners or help people who are athletes in that kind of industry. Something that they've been using as a supplement that you're going to find out is not actually beneficial, or there's some side effects that people didn't know about, and now they're going to be talking about how you have to be careful. Might be related to heart as side effect, so be careful there. All right. So while we do that, we get to that energy is pretty stable for a while. So then let's look at the numerology energy that is going to be associated with us for the month of March. Ah, there's some intestinal bug or disorder that comes about, a some kind of bug or some kind of intestinal thing that's going to take place that is going to cause some extra hospitalizations as well. Okay. All right. So what does the numerology energy say for us? Okay. Compassion, 99. Reminds me of a song, 99 and a half won't do. 99 is the humanitarian. It is time for us to have compassion for others. If you are in a position to help others during this difficult time, you're called to do so, to use whatever resources you have. That may not always be monetary. Sometimes all you can offer is a hug or a prayer, or you can show up to give food to someone. That's the energy March is requiring. By the way, if you like this reading, give it a like, share, thumbs up, comment, save it so you can come back and tell me how this impacted you. People ask, do I do personal readings? I do readings, but normally I use this information on when I'm working with my clients and my therapy practice more so than readings. Um, because we're really trying to resolve some issues that they have and make strategic decisions about career and things like that. So I do readings, but not necessarily I not necessarily a lot of these readings as much as um, long-term strategic planning, which works really well, by the way. Okay, so as we continue on with the week, the energy pretty much stays the same with the Sun, Mars, and Rahu and Mercury. You can expect to see some domestic disruptions on March 6th. And so that means if you're in the United States, you can expect to see some actual physical damage here. And this could be from some people who are living here, kind of like the sleeper cell energy, pipe bombing type energy taking place, uh, vehicle explosions, things like that. Okay. And then the rest of the week, you have to be diligent and be careful with your travels because there's a lot of energy that we're going to hit some Leo energy. We're going to hit some, and Leo is good on so many different ways when it comes to like businesses and things. But in the middle of an overall war energy, it's not good. right? It's more difficult for everyone because tensions are high, especially when people lose people. So they're more prone to violence. So you have to be very careful with your conversations. And if you can let something go, let something go. Um, but that energy is really heavy during this month. We have to also look at there's gonna some loss of limbs, like a body part, um, taking place as well. A lot of that kind of stuff taking place. So let's look at the playing card. If you are again in communications, if you are selling natural alternatives, if you are in the occult, if you are an astrologer, any of those type of people, if you are a numerologist, this could be a beneficial time for you, right? If you are me, a metaphysician, a shaman, definitely a better time for your business during this season. But you have to put yourself out there. So it's the Joker. The Joker means upsetting the apple cart. We know the Joker rules everything in the deck. And I'm going to say these words, it trumps everything else. And I said that specifically, it trumps everything else. So someone is trumping everything else, upsetting the apple cart, getting their way. That's the energy for the month. Don't worry. It will shift, it will change. But also, some things that they want or they think they're going to get, it's going to be upset as well. So that's it. It will happen. I know patience is not what a lot of people have right now, but it will happen. Okay. So if I have room, will come back and make another video because the energy is going to shift again later on in the month. But when these videos are really heavy, I don't like to give a lot of this type of energy. I don't like to put a lot of it out there because I know it's very difficult for people to deal with all at once. So I will be cautious and make another video maybe in the next week, picking up from this point, picking up from March 7th and looking at that second week. Um, by the way, we also have to consider the weeks that you're in, the number of the week that you're in. And we are in a 9 week, which 9 is humanitarian efforts, is thinking about others, but it's also the last part of something. After 9, we start back over, right? We start back over and go build things a little differently, do things a little differently. So that energy is out there. Now, hopefully, I will have room to come back and give you guys the rest of it. If you really want me to, say something in the comments. Okay? You guys take care.